Hey guys, what a beautiful day it is. I have a problem with the suspension on the blue tractor here. Let me see if I can show you. It's a bit difficult, but yeah, it's a bit noisy. I'll show you in the workshop a bit better. But the cylinder that handles the suspension on the front axle has blown out. The frame of the tractor is just resting on top of the axle, so there's no suspension right now. And when I was snow plowing, I kind of didn't have time to fix it, and I had to use the tractor in order to not lose too much oil while driving. I had to just disconnect everything. So that's what we're gonna have a look at in this video. But first, I have something I need to take care of down here. I'll show you. Yeah, I haven't had time to snowplow for myself, so, well, I did this line here yesterday. So yeah, we need to clear out some snow here, and also inside the workshop there is quite a bit of snow. Man, look at this beautiful day. Yeah, there's a little bit of snow here. So I'll just take the scraper blade, drag this out as best I can, and then use the hand shovel afterwards. But look at this, the wind has blown like this huge pile of snow here. So yeah, we need to take care of this snow situation first. And if you don't want to watch that, you can go to this timestamp right here, or you can click the timestamp in the description to skip all the snow plowing stuff. Yeah, we're gonna clear out this first, and then we'll get to repairing the cylinder, hopefully. Alright, well this is good enough for what we're doing down here. So there's quite a few rocks and stuff here that I kind of took out with the bucket. We got the tractor in the workshop here, and the cylinder in question is right there. So we're gonna have to remove at least the fender, and then maybe we can just turn the wheel a bit so we don't have to remove that. And also we need to probably get this out of the way, not sure, but we'll figure that out. Let's start off with dismantling this fender here. 22 maybe. Put these back on here. Alright, let's turn the wheel now, and hopefully we have enough access in here. Then we need to remove this. We don't need to remove that. This is the top of the cylinder, right? There's probably a pin through here. That pin, I believe, is inserted through this hole here, right there. But this bracket here is in the way, and it is the bracket for the loader. I'm gonna have to probably take this off, but to get that off, I have to remove the fuel tank, I think, because the bolts, well, maybe. I don't know if you're able to see that, but there's a bolt right there, and it's come out a little bit. I could get a wrench in there to tighten it up, maybe. But what I was wondering is, if there's only one, then I could undo all the other ones here and drop this down by just pivoting on the one bolt. But it's probably two. Yeah, it's two. I can see it. I can see them. And another thing I noticed is this pin right here for the steering cylinder is on its way out. We're gonna have to address that. Well, this became probably quite a big job, unless I can somehow. So I could feel a nut or a bolt or something inside of here. Maybe there's enough room between here to where I could slide that bolt out and get the cylinder down. The only issue is, how am I going to drive that pin out? I do not know. It's this cylinder right here. You can see it's kind of wet here. All of this oil here is from that cylinder. Might as well just remove these altogether, because I don't use them. Let's shove them in here for now. Alright guys, I'm gonna go inside and read a little bit, see if I can figure out how to do this properly. There's probably something in the workshop manual for this tractor, or something on Google I can figure out. So I'm gonna do that and I'll be right back. So I couldn't really find anything specifically for the cylinder. I did find how to disassemble the front axle, take it off, and how the suspension system works and everything, but nothing specifically about removing the cylinder itself. So I'm going to assume that we're going to have to take the bracket off and drop the diesel tank Now, we don't have to drop it by much, so I'm thinking we can probably just lower the diesel tank down to the ground where it's standing. Just use the jack, the car jack, probably. And then we'll unbolt the bracket, probably going to be quite heavy. Well, we don't need to, see, we don't really need to take it off. We just need to kind of pivot it down a bit so that the whole back here is exposed and we can kind of access it a little bit better. There's probably maybe some bushings and stuff inside of here. I'm just trying to think about when I get this off how I'm gonna assemble it again. This has like a, what do you call it? Like it's like this. Honestly, I don't really feel like doing this at all because they haven't forecasted any snow yet, so hopefully it'll be at least a week. But still, if things happen when I start disassembling this, I have to wait for parts and stuff. It's gonna be not great. So, but it's not too big of a job, so let's just get on with it. Why not? So I'm gonna disconnect the front. Sorry, the camera died. Anyway, we're gonna disconnect the front end loader and probably, yeah, we'll disconnect that too. Why not? Nothing to it but to do it, I guess. Put it a bit straighter because it can be a bit difficult to reconnect if the ground isn't level. Get some snow in the bucket makes it a bit more stable. Not that it's needed, but disconnect those hoses there and I'll leave you guys inside because you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to clean up some snow before we disconnect the blade. There you can see that bolt right there, that's loose. I mean, maybe we could just kind of move the tank that way a little bit. Doesn't have to be much. Is this loose too? Doesn't have to be much. Just to get those bolts out. I mean, maybe if we undo this and the strap, perhaps we could just slide it on the bracket underneath there. Yeah, let's try that. Bolt is spinning in the back. This is connected too here. Just going to check to see if we can get the bolts out here. Haha! Alright, it's a bit dark in there, but we got all of those out, except of course the innermost one, which I can't get out, but we're going to use it to pivot, as I said. Now it's just those two down there, and these four. Well, it's spinning in the back, and that's a problem because I don't have a 30mm wrench. So I guess we're gonna have to just try to use some pliers. Oh, I do have I have an adjustable wrench, of course. Actually, I have two. Didn't find my good one. Not sure what that is. So what I'm dealing with here is that this bracket here and this bracket don't align anymore. This is further up than it should be, and so either this has tension in it and it's pushing downwards in the middle here, or this has tension in it and it's been mounted with tension in order to something engineering stuff probably. But yeah, we need to either get this further down or this further up. And I'm gonna guess it's going to be easier to get this further down, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can wedge something underneath here to drive it further down. Or we could use a crowbar and a wedge between the crowbar and then just jack the crowbar. There's a few different solutions. This was my solution. It should be loose now, but it's probably wedged between here. Might have to remove these as well. Well, I'm just going to remove this completely. Hopefully now this will drop down. we have access to this now. Hopefully it doesn't have to come all the way out, because this is just barely shy here. Seems like you're supposed to thread something in there to kind of drive it out. You gotta pull it out, I'm guessing. And it looks to be quite long, so that could become a problem. Just have to try and see what happens. See if my all thread bushing tool fits. Don't really remember where I put that. Oh, there it is. So I'm thinking maybe one of these will fit. Yeah, it doesn't fit. All right, well, we're gonna have to figure out what those threads are so that I can go and get something that'll fit. That actually looks like it's gonna fit, but there's not enough space here. It's binding on the back there. I guess we could undo that a little bit so that the bracket here comes further out and passes that bolt there. All right, we got it down a little bit further. Passes that bolt in there now. There's a little bit more leeway, but yeah, that's good. And this is the correct size, this bolt here. So I'm thinking I'll get maybe a piece of all thread, and then just, if I can get a piece of all thread like this, I could kind of make a, what do you call them? Thingamajigs to bang it out with. So yeah, that's the plan right now. That may change. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think a little bit and then I'll be right back. All right, well, new plan. Well, no, actually, still the same plan, just I'm gonna make something. I have this piece of steel here, round steel. I'm just gonna cut this, you know, something like that. I'll weld this bolt to the end of it up here, and then I'll slide these over onto this. I have 3 of these. Thinking I'll probably weld them together like that. Weld one of them to the bar, then have 2 of them loose. These aren't terribly expensive, so I could weld this to the bar. Then I'll use these, hold them up to kind of bang onto the bar and pull the pin out. That's the plan. Start off by cutting this to length. Didn't even film that. I guess you could see it kind of in the corner there. I'm going to take this to the grinder, make it a bit more flat so that this will sit on there a little bit better. A bit heavy duty, these rods here, but that should be plenty. Kind of put these on, then the last one will just weld onto here. I think that's pretty good. Made myself a torch. You guys have to stay there for a moment. You just need to let that cool down a little bit, and then we'll see if it works. It's a good thumbnail, I think. It's probably still kind of hot, but my weld broke instantly. Haha! We got it. Look. All my welds broke except one. Oh well. Didn't really have to weld it, but That's good. Now what do we do? I wonder if there's threads inside of here so I can just drive the pin back in with this. Maybe. Let's see. Oh yeah, I think there is. Can't really find them, but I think there is. So that's nice. Now we need to get the cylinder out. Alright, so now we need to get that pin out. Yeah, we also need to disconnect those hoses there. You guys are gonna have to stay there for a moment. Oh. I don't know if this is gonna empty the entire hydraulic tank, but I guess we'll find out. I kind of want to remove these too. Just remember that this one goes here. Let's give it a little tap here and see how stuck it is. Well, there it is. Might have to remove this. Alright, well, let's see if we can get this out now. Nope. Whew. You can see something has happened here. The scraper ring has kind of blown out, but at least the cylinder itself seems okay so far. I do have a new gasket kit for this cylinder. It's right here. There's a lot of stuff here, so it's going to be interesting to see how we're going to be rebuilding this. Anyway, I'm going to go eat and then I'll be back in a hurry. Haha, I know what it is. Yeah, you can see it. It's right there. That thing. You can pull that out. Let's see if we can turn this. I think this has been turned yeah, this has been opened before. And that's not a great sign. It means that this cylinder might have some issues. See if we can find the end here. You can see the ring in there. There we go. There it is. And then, you don't really need to pull this. You just kind of make it snap out and then you go the other way. Yeah, there you go. There it goes. You shouldn't use regular paper towels like this inside of cylinders. Preferably you should use some old t-shirts or something, or shop towels that don't lint, because if you get junk inside of here it could damage your seals and stuff. And usually these are threaded on here, right? And if you get junk inside of the cylinder and that junk gets pressed up inside of the threads here, you could have your threads lock up. And then when you go to disassemble it, it'll be like it's welded together. Yeah, you can see the lint from my paper towels in there. Might have to actually go get some rags and clean that out. Kind of looks like there's a seal there, right? Looks like almost like an O-ring or something. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Regardless, we'll see what we have in the kit. Take it from there. We need to get this gland off. This has been apart by someone before me. There's some damage here, right there, and there's some nooks here, and also this side here. This damage here doesn't really matter, but what does matter is depending on how well they've cleaned this, could be the reason why the gasket has blown. There's some metal chunks and stuff inside the barrel that could cause problems. Even something as small as just lint from a towel can cause problems, let alone a metal chunk. Probably need some leverage on this. Just gonna try and see what happens, as usual. So these are actually supposed to be very tight. Like, there's supposed to be a lot of torque on these, because if they come loose, then you're gonna need a new cylinder. Might break my vise here. I'm gonna put this the other way in the vise here. Oh, something happened. Oh, it's threaded in the other end here. Probably some Loctite on here. You don't want to use heat here, you'll ruin the chrome. And if you do that, then the rod here is just toast. Oh yeah, they've used Loctite, all right. So the yellow ring here, band, whatever, is the scraper ring. And what that does is just remove any dirt, mud, grime, junk before the rod gets into the actual seals. So that's basically all that does. Clean the rod before it retracts into the barrel. All right, so the yellow one is obvious. This one, which is the piston band. That red one, you can see here, this comes apart like that. Not sure if these are two separate parts or they're supposed to be like that. Regardless, we have two O-rings here. Let's start taking out these gaskets, figure it out as we go here. Let's try to keep it the way that it is supposed to be. Okay, so this is kind of a backup ring. It has the O-ring. Looks identical on both sides. Seems to be everything. On the gland here, we'll find the corresponding gaskets here. We're left with three gaskets, piston rings and an O-ring, piston band. These are kind of the worst ones because they're not very flexible. I'm guessing that there is an O-ring behind here. There it goes. Yep, there's an O-ring behind. All right, well, that makes for all of the seals. All right, that's pretty good. And yeah, you'll want to clean this really good now. And we're just gonna take the file as well here. All right, so it is the next day now. I brought some t-shirts. We're gonna heat up some oil here. Should be good. These are the seals for the piston, and the one you really want to heat up is this one. It is the worst one to get on. This one you don't really have to, but I'm going to put them in anyway. It goes. Should be all right, hopefully. We'll put this aside. It's the O-ring installed. So this one goes inside, but it has a ledge on here. there's a ledge right here. So this one has a particular way that it's supposed to go in. And the scraper always goes with this groove here down in towards the barrel. Just clean this up on the bench grinder. That's better. Just put it in the vise. Put on a pair of clean gloves. Just need to dry out my hands a little bit. Have a cup of coffee in the meantime. If you like this video, please hit that like button. It really helps me out and I highly appreciate it. If you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, there's a link right there, or you can click the link in the description as well. If that's something you're interested in, I appreciate it very much, but of course I do not expect it. So there's a few holes around. I think there's 2 holes. What'll happen is you'll turn this and this little tab here will catch into the hole, right? And then as you turn this, you'll pull the string around. You want to keep a little bit of pressure on it so that once the hole is there, it'll snap in. It fell into that hole on the gland. Now we should be able to just turn this. There's a couple of O-rings right here. I'm not sure if I have that size. If they're special, then I don't. I just have some generic O-ring kits. But these are easy enough to replace with the cylinder already installed. So we're just gonna leave them, connect the hoses, and if it leaks, then we'll have to replace them, of course. I think it's ready to be installed again, which I'm not looking forward to. Click. Guess we'll put everything back together now. Maybe put some Loctite on these. be a screw in here, but just gonna leave that for now. We have to connect back the electronics for the suspension, but it's just a connector, chip, and it's done. So I'm just gonna do that off camera and then I'll be back. All right, well, I think I've connected everything. It was one connector and one, like, what do you call them, spade shoe thingy. I was supposed to remove these hoses here, but I'll leave them for now. Doesn't seem like much is happening, so maybe it's a bad connection. Well, let's check some fuses before we do anything else. I know, well, probably the fuse for the blinker light has gone. I'm gonna have to replace that anyway. We can look for the fuse for the other stuff too. Right, it's the small ones for this. This one. I think it's that one. When a fuse blows, oh yeah, that broke instantly. Let's try that again. We just may have been a fluke, but probably not though. Okay, so there's definitely something weird going on here. I'm gonna fill up my hard disk with just nothing. Just gonna troubleshoot this off camera a bit and then I'll be back. Alright, it is the next day again here. I read this yesterday and I remember I was in the computer to try to figure some stuff out a while ago, and I don't really remember if this is something I did to disable the suspension. It says here that it defaults to no suspension in the computer and you'll have to change it to yes. So I'm gonna go into the computer here, see what setting it's at. Alright, I'm just gonna put you guys like that for now. I have my new nice hat on. Haha! Something's happening! Says end, so I guess the calibration has ended then. Turn off the key start to restore calibration. Well, the suspension is lifted now, at least. You can see the space here. And I don't see any immediate oil leaks. All of this stuff is me spilling things everywhere. As usual, when I do anything with any type of fluid, it gets all over the place. I guess let's take it for a test drive and see. The suspension works, but we have an error code that I've seen before. I never fixed it because, well, I disconnected the suspension. Right, let's see. It's the same error code. I do have some papers here specifically for that. Alright, I found the troubleshooting thingy, and it says to follow this procedure here. The error is for the upper lockout solenoid. It might be the solenoid over there, or it could be in the back here, where the accumulator and stuff for the suspension is mounted. You can see the accumulator there. The pump is behind there somewhere, and the hydraulic solenoid block is right there behind that. But I do have a test we can do in order to figure that out, because I'm pretty sure that I disconnected that when I disconnected the suspension. So let's get under here and see. That one right there. I think it might be this, or it's one of those up there. Maybe I got these wires mixed up. Let's do that and see if it changes anything. And also we're gonna have to address this. I may have forgotten to put an O-ring on that speed sensor when I think about it. Yeah, it's kind of a pain because I have to remove the hydraulic filter here. And there's also a bit of oil here, and that's just, there's supposed to be like a catch tank underneath all the hydraulic connections back here, and that thing is missing. So every time you connect to disconnect something, there's a little bit of oil coming out, and yeah, it just collects down here. It looks like a lot, but it's not really. Yeah, one thing at a time here. We're gonna address the front suspension sensor first, and then we'll have a look at that speed sensor leak in another video. Right, we swapped around the connections there, and we're gonna see if that made a difference. Yeah, we're just gonna disconnect stuff until we figure out exactly where the problem is. Yeah, we got the error again. We're gonna ohm it. Yeah, we're gonna check the resistance. It's gonna be a bit difficult to get in there with the camera, so I'll be right back and give you an update. All right, you guys. So I measured the solenoid to 0.01 ohms, and the workshop manual says it's supposed to be around 6 ohms at 20 degrees centigrade. It is now about 0 degrees, but obviously that solenoid is bad, so I'm gonna order a new one. We still managed to repair what we set out to do in this video. The suspension's working fine now, the cylinder is completely dry. Seems like we did a good job, and hopefully it'll last a long time. So the suspension will work just fine without that solenoid. The only effect that it has is that I won't be able to lock out the suspension. But that's completely fine with me. I don't need it for my use case and for snow plowing and stuff like that. So you can just stay like that until I get a new one in the mail, and then we'll be replacing it in a future video. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.